See what happens when you don't watch enough television?
These videos are not for children. If you are a children, then piss off.
Hey there, I'm Infuso, and if you're a fan of this channel, and I personally don't know why you would be, but if you're a fan of this channel, you probably know that I'm a fan of Batman. So it should be no surprise to anyone that that's what today's topic is. Again. Now recently I learned that there's a new book out called Gotham High. It's a book about a half-Asian Bruce Wayne, so naturally they emphasized his training in Kung Fu and gave him a master. Because nothing says progressive like age-old stereotypes. Good job, guys. Pat yourselves on the back of the head with the brick. Anyway, when I heard that name, it started to ring a few bells. There was something familiar about it. And that's when I dug deep in the confines of my mind and was reminded of this. The original Gotham High. A show that was being developed in the later 2000s. A concept that never quite made it past the creative desk. The idea was liked enough to garner some interest in it, but it wound up getting lost in the scuffle of a lot of other Batman-centric ideas. Because let's be honest with each other here, Batman's kind of DC's bread and butter. The blueprint of the show is probably exactly what you would think it was. Bruce attends a high school with all of Gotham City's most famous villains. Now, what I like the least, but also somehow what I like the most, is the show's attempt to modernize the villains and make them teenagers. They all kind of fall into like one trope or stereotype that kind of fits their overall villainy. You have Clayface Matt Hagen, the artsy-fartsy craft kid, Harvey Dent Two-Face, the kid with, I don't know, a skin condition? Who happens to be running for class president? Oswald Cobblepot, the Penguin, a very awkward, snobby rich kid? Waylon Jones, Killer Croc himself, and Bane are your ordinary, everyday high school jocks. And bullies. The Riddler, Edward Nygma, is the smartest kid in school, so basically, he plays your typical nerd. The Scarecrow, Jonathan Crane, is the weird, paranoid kid with your typical goth aesthetic. The Joker, here known as Jay, and Harley were to be portrayed as PG juggalos, from what I can see. Pamela Isley, Poison Ivy, was going to be the most popular girl in school that all the guys wanted, because pheromones. A pre-Mr. Victor Freeze was clearly supposed to be... God, I don't even want to say it. Mr. Freeze was gonna be the cool kid.
Stay cool. Cool party.
When I saw this for the first time, he was kind of sending me some Iggy from Hey Arnold vibes, you know, pre-bunny pajamas. And hey, look, there's Selena Kyle. And it's clear that here Catwoman is a Catwoman, but younger, apparently, as seen by her overall appearance and leopard print skirt. It's a nice touch. Whereas Bruce was the new kid and something of a jock, who of course wore bat apparel because I think we all had that phase back in high school, as did Batgirl Barbara Gordon apparently. I really hope they weren't supposed to actually turn into the heroes in this, because you guys are just giving away your secret identity. Like, you might as well just carry around a neon sign. And if Joel Schumacher had his way, you probably would have. All that's really still available about this project is a couple photos drawn by the creators and a brief synopsis. Here is their own written summary. We all go through incredible changes as teenagers. Growth spurts, bad skin, a sudden insatiable need to uphold justice and avenge your murdered parents. Well, that is if you're Bruce Wayne. As if being a freshman at Gotham High wasn't tough enough, Bruce's insomnia and technological fascinations are taking their toll. Instead of spending his time studying, he's began to obsess over an emerging personality trait: Batman. But under the watchful eye of his guardian and steward, Alfred Pennyworth, Bruce is forced to put his intelligence to good use, graduating high school. But given his classmates, can Bruce survive Gotham High? And I think what I love the most about this is that it seems like it's not just like an Elseworld thing. And when I say love the most, I do mean hate the most. It doesn't seem like they were entirely doing an Elseworld thing, like this wasn't just going to be another reinterpretation. They were actually kind of trying to somehow fit this into like an overall Batman lore. Because Despite the fact that this was going to be a much lighter and clearly campier version of Batman, you know, a much more child-friendly, easygoing reinterpretation of the Dark Knight mythos, it was still gonna include Bruce's parents being murdered. I mean, Jesus, man, give it a break. Haven't we seen that enough? How many more times do you want that to happen? You would think that a story about heroes and villains being teenagers in high school would at least not resort to parental offings. But no, apparently it's still intricate to the story being told. I mean, you could do this series without even ever showing his parents. You could have said that they used their riches to go on an extended vacation somewhere. Who knows? Maybe they sent Bruce to Gotham boarding school and they're just out of the picture. They sent him away. They're not there. It just seems really out of place having them killed in a show called Gotham High. Keep it light, guys. And then on top of that, I'm trying to just wrap my head around the fact that everyone's supposed to turn into these characters, and they're not the characters already, even though they clearly resemble the characters that they're based on. So I don't even know what to think. Let me also say that even in this kind of continuity, I continue to be put off by the whole Bruce and Barbara romance. I truly hate this pairing more than I hate anything. You know what? I'll say it. You know what? I like Damian Wayne more than I like the idea of Bruce and Barbara being together. I mean, I usually dislike this for a variety of reasons. There's a giant age gap, the fact that Bruce is good friends with their father, so you might as well be hooking up with your uncle practically. The fact that Barbara was in a serious romantic relationship with Bruce's surrogate son, so you might as well be hooking up with your father-in-law. And the fact that they're usually put together for an added effect in a story to show how deeply they care about each other. But these writers somehow don't seem to understand by having them be in a relationship, it completely undermines their friendship and what they mean to each other outside of that one story arc. There's just so much wrong with it, and like not enough right with it for them to continue to try to push this. But here, I just hate it on principle. I'm not about it. I don't want any part of it, and I don't care that you de-aged them and they're around the same age group, and I don't want anything to do with it. I'm not about that. In the grand scheme of things, when looking back at Gotham High and what could have been, I'm actually of two minds on the subject. At the time I heard about this show being made, I was offended. This isn't the way the Caped Crusader and his rogues gallery should be portrayed. This is absolute blasphemy. This is sacrilegious. This is pissing on a legacy. Words could not describe my anger. But modern day me would actually probably really appreciate the show, to a degree. I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't think that this concept would ever, or even could ever, become the definitive Batman story. I don't think people would look back on it fondly for years to come, the same way that they look back at something like Batman the Animated Series or the Dark Knight trilogy. But I've since my youth come to really appreciate different interpretations of characters. I like the concept of taking a well-established story and giving it a new setting or someone putting their own unique twist on it. You know, so long as it doesn't replace its source material and instead exists parallel to it. The only thing you should ever truly ask of an adaptation of something or an alternate take on something is that it follows the same spirit its predecessor did. The characters' personalities are still very much intact, and it's evident just by the little that we know and the little bit that we've seen that these characters were strongly derived from their source material, and pretty expertly altered to fit this concept. I'm actually a little sad this was never made. I think it probably would have either been a cult classic cartoon, or it would have been so awful that it was unforgettable, and either way, we missed out. This is a unique take on the Batman mythos, and I personally, well, at least modern day me, would have welcomed it.
What? What the fuck? I'm the Clown Prince of Crime, and that was the Prince of Personality, the Infuso, or so he says. So if you like the words that came out of his mouth hole and you too want to become a V-tard, don't forget to like and subscribe. Follow the man on Twitter, because it's not stalking if it's on the internet after all. Join the fun by joining the Discord. If for some strange reason you want to show support, and I don't know why you would, and if you have $1 to spare, head over to the SIJW's Patreon, where you can request videos, get exclusive content, and early access to scheduled videos. Or head to his PayPal, where you can buy the shirts. Oh, aren't those lovely? And just remember, if you're not tuning in, you're missing out. Yeah.
Thanks for flying with us. Bye-bye.